Good morning and welcome to Let Us Reason Together. Today is January 21st, 2026, and we are continuing our small series here in Ephesians chapter 5 entitled Walking in the Light. And today we come to Ephesians chapter 5 verses 11 through 13, and I'm going to go ahead and read that passage. I always read from the New American Standard Bible, just in case you're wondering. And Paul writes this: "Do not participate in the evil deeds of darkness, but instead even expose them. For it is disgraceful even to speak of the things which are done by them in secret. But all things become visible when they are exposed by the light. For everything that becomes visible is light." Well, in Ephesians 5, Paul has been calling us believers, if you're a believer, to walk as children of light, to walk in the light. He's shown us that the light of Christ produces fruit, goodness, righteousness, and truth. And now, in verses 11 through 13, he's going to press this further. Walking in the light is not only about what we do, it is also about what we refuse to do and how we relate to the darkness, the dark world around us. First thing he does is he gives us a clear command, and that is here in verse 11 that we're not to have a partnership with darkness. He says, "Do not participate in the unfruitful deeds of darkness." That word participate means to share, to partner with, or to join together. Paul leaves no room here for compromise. Darkness produces deeds, but Paul calls those deeds unfruitful. Unlike the fruit of the light, which grows and blesses, the works of darkness are empty, they're barren, and they're destructive. This reflects the reality of regeneration. Those who have been made alive cannot continue to share comfortably in what belongs to spiritual death. This does not mean isolation from the world, but it means separation from the sinful practices of the world. Then Paul gives us a surprising call next in verse 11, and that is that we're to expose the darkness. He says, but instead even expose them. Now, this may surprise us. Paul does not tell believers to ignore darkness or to just avoid it. He says we are to expose it. This exposure is not harsh. It's not self-righteous. It should not be cruel. It is primarily done through several things. First of all, God-honoring conduct. How do we behave? I know many of you are aware that there were protesters that entered a church in Minneapolis, Minnesota this last week, and I believe the name of the church is City's Church, and a solid Reformed congregation. And I was struck in the interviews that I've seen since then with the pastor and with others with their God-honoring conduct. That's first. Also, we have to have a faithful witness. We have to have a clear allegiance to Christ, but we also have to speak the truth in love. And understand, you are going to speak the truth in love. You're going to conduct your life in a godly way. You're going to have a faithful witness and a clear allegiance to Christ and all of that, but the world is still going to oppose that. So when we live distinctly holy lives, darkness is revealed for what it is. The third thing that Paul brings up, and this is in verse 12, and that is the shame of secret sin. He explains why this exposure is necessary. He says, for it is disgraceful even to speak of the things which are done by them in secret. Sin thrives in secrecy. What cannot survive the light is already condemned. Paul is not encouraging fascination with sin or a detailed discussion of evil. Rather, he is showing the moral ugliness of darkness. It hides because it knows it cannot endure exposure. This verse reminds us that the human heart, apart from grace, loves concealment. But grace brings sin into the open where repentance and forgiveness are possible. Then the fourth point that Paul makes, and this is the last one that he makes in verse 13, and that is the power of the light to transform. He says, but all things become visible when they are exposed by the light, for everything that becomes visible is light. Light reveals, light clarifies, light transforms. This does not mean that everything exposed is automatically redeemed, but that exposure is the first step toward either repentance or judgment. For the believer, this is hopeful. The light of Christ does not expose to shame, but it exposes to heal. It reveals sin so that grace may triumph. Christ's light does what darkness never can. It brings light. So Ephesians chapter 5, verses 11 through 13 teaches us several things. It teaches us that darkness produces nothing of lasting value. It teaches us that light exposes what darkness hides. It teaches us that Christ calls his people to live distinctly, not silently. Walking in the light means refusing sinful partnerships. It means living openly before God. It means bearing witness through a life that is transformed by grace. You and I are not called to blend into the darkness of this world. We are called to shine out against it. Well, I want to thank you for joining me today. I pray that this has been a blessing for you. If it has, hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe button on YouTube to help us increase our subscribers, please, and share this with as many people as possible. So I want to thank you for joining me today. I pray that you have a great and blessed day, and we'll see you next time.